This is Fraud to Fearless.
Friends, you are made for more purpose, more confidence, more impact. Because when you live fearless, you inspire others to do the same.
Let's go! Hayden, this topic is one that you and I are both very passionate about because we care about people. But this one gets so sticky for me because, well, we'll get into it. Relationship building within the lens of leadership. It's so important and it's also so tricky. So tricky.
Yes. Like, should you send your boss a Facebook invite? Or tell them what you did on the weekend? Or we hear a lot work-life balance, and there's also this like separation of, do you bring your full self to work? And I think on some level, it's human nature to want to let people in, to know who you are, and to know like your family and like what you like to spend your time doing. But there also needs to be boundaries. And there's information that some people just don't want like their boss or their coworkers to know, like age. If you're working with a whole bunch of folks that have more, laps around the sun than you do you want to open up about how old you are? Does that bring you less credibility? That these are all very real things. And so I think, as a general rule, just on the surface, when you think relationship building, what I want to spend some time talking about, Brooke, is how to build a strong relationship as a leader with your team, as a leader with your leader, and as a leader, build the relationship with your team with your leader, like two up leaders, but also navigating that balance of being vulnerable but not opening too much, still like creating some separation that if you're the leader and you need to have the difficult conversations, you need to hold the standard, you also need to be careful with what you share and how open and vulnerable you are with your team.
This is going to be good because I feel like I'm going to be the controversial piece, but I have to be this voice. I have to be this voice because I know that there's other people out there that are probably feeling like me. And this is me actually, I guess, being vulnerable about where I am in my leadership journey. So whether this is right or wrong, I don't know, Hayden, but I probably have some controversial opinions as we go through this. You ready for this?
Yeah. So you feel like your controversial views are just, you have a tendency to be too open?
My controversial views would be it's people over everything. I know that you can get burned over this. I know you can. And maybe we'll do another episode when there's like more lessons learned and I get a few more gray hairs on my head, But here's my perspective right now. I just think the solution and the best leaders that have impacted my life have been the ones who showed up so real. And I never felt like they were hiding anything from me or like not telling me stuff. I'm sure if I asked them, but they've been the people that have shared about their life, that have just loved me. Like I was I don't want to say it, but like a part of their family. And so in my mindset, when I think about what is the leader that I want to be known as, it would be that person. Like, I don't want to hold anything back of myself. I don't. And maybe I'm going to get burned and maybe whatever else. But at the end of the day, it's just like those relationships mean everything to me. Deep, connected relationships.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
True or false? You can have a incredible relationship with your team without opening up completely. True or false?
I think I think you can. Like, I guess devil's advocate, there are pieces where I think about certain things that just don't feel appropriate to share
Yeah.
at certain times, you know?
Right. Right. Yep.
So I can see that part. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Uh, I think it's obviously the role of HR and leadership in big corporate organizations, right? You got to protect the company, right? So you want to avoid anything that could potentially end up in a lawsuit or, anything that could be like reflect negatively on the company. And I think my pushback on like what your opening was is, can you open up and be vulnerable with your team to build strong relationships, but then also I think it's just so dynamic because I'm
It
almost talking out
is.
of both sides of my mouth because like you need to open up, you need to be vulnerable with your team. Uh, but you also need to figure out what your boundaries are. And you also need to figure out what is worth sharing and what is not. What is worth, like, you still need to display strength and confidence. And sometimes that might mean showing weakness, but other times it might be not showing weakness and showing strength. And so it's really just so dynamic. And you have to use judgment as a leader on what the situation and what the team is calling for at any
At
given
that
point in time.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm thinking of so many different examples. Like, of course, there's going to be certain things, personal life things, potentially that could be destructive if you're sharing those things and could diminish your. Oh, it's just all perspective. It's all
Yeah.
perspective, but then it shows a realness. Okay, let's dive in. Let's go.
Yeah. So, do you have examples of when you've had a really good relationship and a bad relationship with a leader?
I'm trying to think if I have any noteworthy ones. There's definitely been leaders where I felt like they genuinely care about my life outside of
Yeah.
just what I'm doing, my work.
Yeah.
And uh and then some leaders that were just like, we only talk about the tasks, and there might be an occasional like, are you doing okay? But they don't really know me as a person. And
Yeah.
so I appreciated the leaders that I felt like knew me or cared beyond just the what can your warm body in a seat kind of a thing.
Okay. So, your expectations as an employee is that your leader is getting to know you outside of work. That's what good looks like, in your opinion.
I think it's a crucial part of a high performing team. Like that
Yeah.
there's this empathy piece. I know more about you than just what the job is. Because
Yeah.
that's what's going to inspire me to want to be there with you. Like when there's that kind of level of connection, then I'm not just working for a paycheck. Like I'm working because I know you and I care about you and I want us to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think reflecting, I've had probably 12, 15 plus managers at Honeywell in 8 years. And I've had a lot of very different relationships. And for me, I think the hard thing, Brooke, is it is difficult in corporate America to have a significant relationship with your leader if you don't have a long relationship, right? Like if you get a new manager every 6 months, every year, there's not much time there to really get to know each other. And so what's more common, like at Honeywell, is we have a whole bunch of people that have been with the company for like long time, like 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And so it's like, I know you in this role, and then we both go to different roles, and then 5 years later we work together again, and so we feel like family because we work together, but I have no
Yeah.
idea what's happened in the last 4 years of your life. So I might see you at like a mixer or like see you around the office or whatever. So I think that's more common. But I think as a leader, I think it's kind of reading the expectations of each employee. So, like, how do one-on-ones go? What do they want to share? Like, how do you balance with each individual, like, that relationship? But then the other amazing thing that's tricky about leading is you have to lead in different environments, in different settings. So you're the manager with your team on like a one-on-one. That's probably extremely common. But then you also, like we do with our interns, we're going to have a weekly staff meeting or like operations review where in the previous episode we showed the Trello board and talked about delegating. Um, but like, how do you lead a team in more of a public setting? Like, how do you give feedback to somebody when other people are listening? When do you go too hard? When do you kind of soften up a little bit? It's and that's why Brooke, that dynamic is why HR is so valuable in the company, because I'm the partner helping the leader think about all these things, navigate all these things. And I also think it is why HR people would can and will and do make really good business leaders and entrepreneurs, because we understand the people side. We're looking
Yeah.
for this stuff. If you're an engineering leader or an accounting leader, you might not view this stuff like or think about this stuff at all. And it's so important.
Hey, my friend, I want to tell you about the Fearless Journal. The reason why Hayden and I created this journal was because if you're like us, you love listening to podcasts, you love listening to audiobooks, and you love the insights that you get from those things. But are you actually implementing them? That's my downfall. I have a million notes in my phone, a million Google Docs of different things, books that I've started, podcasts that I've listened to, and I don't have one single place to track my progress. That is the purpose of the Fearless Journal. You have a place to document the challenges, the things that you feel called to try out and do in your life, and a weekly template of how you can track that progress and improve. We love it. We know you're going to love it too. We want you to live the most fulfilling life, free of fear or imposter syndrome that's been holding you back. We hope you enjoy it. You can find it on Amazon today. Yeah, I'm thinking about, if we could try to break this down into how do you what are the tools or the things that actually build relationships in a healthy way in a work situation? Like, what does that look like? So I'll throw out a couple off the top of my head and then see
Okay.
if you can add to this or if you disagree. I think some of the most important parts of relationship building is to be seen. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
see you, your gifts, the qualities that you have. I recognize your value. I see what you bring to the team, and that's communicated. Like, there's some kind
Yes.
of element of being seen. Not just the business part, but the human part. So
Yep.
that's one.
Okay.
Um, the next part is safety, like the psychological safety that I feel with a leader is, do I feel safe enough in this relationship to be able to actually speak what I feel? If a problem comes up and there's an issue, can I just tell you directly if I don't agree with something or I have a different perspective? Do I feel safe enough to bring that up? So
Yeah.
being able to create a relationship where that safety happens is
Yeah.
huge.
What I would add is when I have had struggles with managers in the past, they generally are too micromanagey. That is the adjective I just created. So I need room to gallop. I need leash. Um, it's like when you see someone walking their dog and the leash is so short, they're just pulling you the whole way. I need some slack. Like, I'm at my best when I get to innovate and I can be the leader, and I need an enabler that is a thought partner and challenges me, but not like bogs me down and asks me for updates every 30 minutes. That doesn't, I don't enjoy that at all. I find that
Ugh.
annoying. So I like leash and room to kind of run my own show is my preference operating style. Number two, I struggle when leaders are insecure. Either they view my success as a knock on them, so they feel like threatened by me. So like if I do good, that means that my leader's bad and my leader has to be the face of all the work that I do. Instead of like, hey, if I do good, that's actually good for you. Like you are the one who's challenging the work that I'm doing. So insecurity, I really struggle with. Um, and then another one that comes to mind is really, I'm at the level now where like my leaders now need to manage upward visibility of like me and my peers. So making sure that I'm getting proper visibility to the top business leaders and like HR leaders like in the company, that like as a leader, you're responsible for highlighting the work of your team. And so if they do great work and no one knows about it, that's on the leader. Like the leader needs to, brag but also like give visibility to the team on sharing the work so that it can really have a maximum impact. So those are some big things for me. And I think the last thing I would say is I want to feel like I have a partner and someone who wants the best for me, even if that means short-term pain for the leader. So like, let's say I get an opportunity to take a new role. And at Honeywell, we generally have a 18 months in role expectation. So everyone in the company, the expectation is that you're in your role for at least a year and a half. And then after that, then you can have a discussion with your manager and figure out like what is the next role for you, if that's something that you're interested in and have the skill set and the ability and opportunity to take that experience. So there there are cases in every company where a manager is like, oh, I've got a great team. Like, I know that you could get that promotion opportunity, but give me like 6 more months. Like, I just don't want to have to backfill you. And like, that's tough because opportunities aren't always available, especially the higher up you go. And so if you're told no, that you can't go for an opportunity, I want to feel from my leader like we're partners in my success. Like we're both trying to make me successful, and they're making sure I've got a mentor. I'm getting nominated for training programs. I'm doing bubble assignments that can really help me develop and grow.
I'm curious, Hayden, how it works for you, but where do you feel like all of this relationship building and those conversations for what your next role is and all of that, where does that happen? Like, do you think that those relationship building, all these things that we've talked about that are important in relationship building, do they happen in the one-on-ones that are set up, like the regular one-on-ones? Or is it more the in between, like the in
Yeah.
between passing, whether you work in the office and you see people in the hallway, or like the one-off conversations that you're having over Slack? What is it? Where does this relationship building happen?
Every single conversation is a networking opportunity. And I've learned that in my career, but most of my moves, Brooke, to different roles, it was a role that I asked for. Like I said I wanted that experience and I told the right person and just the stars aligned and I was fortunate enough to get that experience. But I think when you work for a company like that essentially every 18 months, it's like, what's next? And obviously I started in a leadership development program where I knew I was going to do 3 different roles every 12 to 18 months. I've built a muscle now over 8 years that it's like when it's kind of getting time to think about what's next, start networking, talking to leaders, highlighting with your manager about what you're interested in and getting their advice. Like, can you make that better? Like at Honeywell, we have 4 quarterly conversations a year. So we have 2 conversations that are like career conversations, or we call it an IDP, so individual development plan. So that is a one-on-one conversation with employee and manager that have to happen to talk about what's next and areas you could grow. The third one is mid-year review. So how did you do half of the year so far? And then the last one is your performance review. So those are 4 documented conversations that have to happen between manager and employee. So a lot of to your question, Brooke, happens in those, but honestly, sometimes it just happens. We're both aligned with what I'm going to do next. And I would like to spend some time talking about what that is, how we're going to get there, and anything I need to do to grow to get to that level. So I would, instead of like only waiting for those 4 documented conversations as an employee and as a leader, and even folks not on my team, I think it's just like a muscle that when I'm one-on-one with someone, how you doing? You liking your role? Like, what's next for you? Like, that's just a normal conversation that I have with people. But Brooke, in the big companies, big leaders have to do succession planning regularly so that if someone wins the lottery or if they move to a new role or leave the company, you've got a list of people that could take that role. And so if you have these conversations with people and build your network and say, oh, yeah, Hayden's going to move to a new job, but I have 3 people that would be perfect for Hayden's role that I know are interested and already are in Charlotte. That's the dream. So then you can replace that role very quickly and start the onboarding process.
Yeah, Hayden, I think it's interesting as you were talking through like how Honeywell has it. There's specific conversations about those. Like they're being intentional that make sure you have these conversations because it's
Yeah.
important. There's a space for that to happen. And then to your point of you can create those opportunities as well. When I think back to the leaders that I had that I felt so valued by, there was either a weekly or bi-weekly one-on-one meeting with them that I was talking to them about. They were asking me about the work that I was doing, if there was any issues. They gave me a space with them, just dedicated me and them to grow and communicate and whatever else it was. So I think the magic happens in those spaces that we dedicate. And I think sometimes that's the first thing to go. People don't like meetings. We have so many meetings, right? Let's try to be effective. And sometimes it's easier to skip those. But remembering if you are a leader, that the relationship building can happen in those 20, 30-minute meetings where you're asking these questions. You're figuring out what expectations are. Also, repair. I was thinking about the part of any kind of relationship building. If you think you take relationship building out of the workplace for a minute and you just think in general, when you're building friendships with your spouse, your kids, I read this parenting book, and it talked about the number one. A lot of times we get stuck and we're like, oh, we think about all the issues, all the mistakes that we make in relationships, right? Messed up here, like here's our imperfections, man. I really blew it today. I wasn't patient, whatever. It's not the number of mistakes that you make in a relationship. It's actually the number one indicator of the health of a relationship is how well you can repair. So
Mm.
that's been top of mind for me. What are the steps to actually repair? What does that look like? But now, if we take that same principle and we bring it back into the workplace, I've been thinking about how many times has there actually been a conversation, a repair made on the
Mm.
relationship? Like we know that there's issues, there's frustrations that come up, and probably a lot of it is not talked about because it's just like, how do you bring that stuff up?
Yeah.
And you kind of have to resolve that. So as a leader, I'm thinking to if I am genuinely concerned about or care about building relationships, along with all of these things that we just mentioned, how am I implementing repair? How am I figuring out if there's been a breach in the relationship or there is frustration or there's issues? And then how do I repair that as a leader, as a manager, as whatever else? So those are some of the thoughts going through my head.
Yeah. I One of my biggest principles of work that I live by in every single role is walk your fences. And I think the reason walk your fences is so powerful is as a leader, you need to go check in with your team, know what's going on, know when they're frustrated, know when they're proud, because then you can react accordingly. I think the other thing I was reflecting on, Brooke, as you were talking, was a huge thing for me with managers that have healthy relationships. My favorite relationships, trust. Trust is interesting because when you're at the level that I'm at, you take certain things for granted. Every leader is different, but I've had leaders in the past where they don't look at the work that I do as I turn it in. Like, I send it to them, they just blindly send it.
Send it.
If that happens, one as a leader, you got to be careful with that. That goes back to the delegation, right? Like the investigation, informed progress, informed results, or just complete ownership, just like full send that presentation.
Yep.
But if you do that, you got to be sure that you trust that person. And if you're the employee and your leader completely lets you own the show, it better be right, like, because then that
Because you can
changes.
break that. Yeah,
If
you
you
can
break
break
that,
that.
it changes and you just went down a level. And so I would just, every leader is different. Every leader is going to review things differently. Every leader is going to give you a different level of ownership. And so think about that, because from the leader perspective, you need to navigate who you trust in your team. What level? You can't review everything to the nth degree, right? You only have so much time. So you got to prioritize. So you have to think about where to spend your time. One, like thought partnership time with your team and like actually blocking and tackling like whiteboarding stuff. And also like your review time of like how much feedback to give. Like, is this really a battle that I want to, is this really, the hill I'm going to die on? On the employee side, depending on the trust of your leader, you also need to navigate that review. And if it's complete ownership, you got to make sure that you're getting peer reviews or something else. Like, it's got to be right. Otherwise, you're going to break that trust.
Ooh, trust. Hayden, uh, on this topic of trust, can I tell you a story that I just recently went through? And I'm curious with this lens of everything we've been talking about with relationship building. I'm curious what you would have done in my shoes if you think that I made the right decision or like how you would approach it. Okay. So I I put on events. I put on events and they're all different kinds of events. Depends on whether they're for my group coaching, individual, or for organizations. I had an event that I had scheduled to put on, and all of these issues start coming up. Okay. Like behind the scenes, um, things with the venue. I got sick, like to the point where the difficulty level of putting on this event became so high that I was like, this is too much. It's literally too much for me. I think I'm going to break. I don't think I can handle it. But I have a team who's looking at me and saying, like, they're doing the work, they're moving forward with it, and they're going to get paid off of this stuff. Like, I can't just quit. There's people that have bought tickets, whatever else. So I get to this point where I'm like, as a leader, it can feel lonely. Part of me wants to have this conversation of, I'm really struggling, you guys. Like, I want to give up. Like, I don't know if I can do it. And that imposter syndrome or the fear as a leader that comes up when you're given these big challenges or you're faced with a new project or just like a monumental change. And but also feeling the weight, like they're looking to me. When you're
Yeah.
about to go into battle,
Yep.
you can't be like I think of George Washington or like I know I'm bringing in so many different historical
You've been
figures in
on a
these.
history kick these past couple episodes.
I know. But you think about these great leaders, if they're going into battle and they're like, I don't know if we can do it, you guys.
Or it rains, or it
Yes.
snows, you know?
So you can't like there's this lonely aspect. So it's when do you choose would you choose to be vulnerable in this situation and say, "Look, I'm really struggling. Like I need us to rally or I don't know if we should we pivot?" And being willing to show that weakness, or do you just say, "We've got to do it. Like I can't show them this because they're I don't want them to be afraid or to hesitate. Like I've got to take this one."
I'd probably do something in between, probably similar to what you did. I think we just had a really huge project, probably one of the biggest projects I've ever done in my time at Honeywell recently. And there was just an insane, like a normal process that we do at Honeywell every year. What we just did was like one of the biggest, like maybe of all time. Like it was just a massive project. And there was a ton of venting, um, and vulnerability and frustration, and me and the core project team, like me venting up, like with leaders above me, and me venting down in different levels. And so I do not think it is realistic to expect to continue to navigate kind of work-life relationships and to not be able to vent and open up. Now, you have to draw a line eventually, and you can't only resort on venting, vulnerability, weakness. But I do think it is realistic and likely that there's going to be times when we all have to vent, we all have to blow off some steam, we all need the happy hour party with the coworkers, right? But as the leader, at the end of the day, you just got to get it done. So if you need something as a leader, do it. Because if you neglect that, eventually that the pot's going to get full, right? And then it's going to boil over. So if you needed that, you have the authority to choose that you're going to be vulnerable to get the job done. And that's what you did.
Yeah. I think one of the most beautiful lessons in leadership is you get the skills in the doing.
Yeah.
So it's not until you have the experience, you choose the thing that you're going to do, that then you learn, was this, ooh, like I should have tweaked that a little bit, or maybe that crossed a boundary here. But making sure you write those things down, you learn from those experiences. That's the beautiful part of leadership as well. Going back to the very beginning, we don't get to choose how people experience our leadership style. So we can ask questions about how the decisions we've made have impacted other people. And then that can also guide and shape the kind of leader that we grow and develop into. And I think, Hayden, the one message that I would like to leave and share is that if you're in a leadership role, it's okay to not know what to do, to still
Yeah.
feel afraid when things come up, to still feel imposter syndrome, to not have all the answers, and to act anyways, because the gift comes in the doing. And so it's normal to feel that way. And as you do, that imposter syndrome, that fear will slowly diminish.
Yeah, I think that's terrific. I would also say, in my head, the greatest manager relationships I've ever had have been I don't care how much you mess up. I got you. I got your back. That is the ultimate bar. So like,
Yeah.
I would say even below complete ownership, or like above complete ownership, even if you fail, I got you. And that is earned. That is like blood, sweat, and tears goes into that. So the last story, and then we'll close out here. So episode 3, Joe Corelli, he was my first business leader after grad school. This is one of my favorite experiences of like I've ever had in my career. Just graduated. I'm supporting a $300 million business, 850 employees, and just me, no team. Like there was 850 people. Hayden was the HR generalist for. There was this engineering manager that was just intentionally confrontational and very demeaning and disrespectful to me specifically. And you know, I, especially going in early in your career, you have an endurance for dealing with that. I'm resilient. It's like, okay, maybe he's just a jerk, whatever. But there was a moment when he really pushed my buttons at the wrong day, and I like told him off. And I was like strong, like firm, like, no, buddy, my roots go deep, babe. You ain't knocking me down, you know? So anyway, it was respectful. It was professional, but it was stern. And I essentially said, this is not how we're going to work together. You need to treat me with some respect or this conversation is over. And he didn't. So we ended the conversation. I was like, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm here to support you. You're not respecting me. That's not the behaviors that we have at this company. I'm not continuing this conversation unless you can treat me with some respect.
Dang.
And I was like, that's brave. Little college student
Yeah.
saying this. So I was nervous. I was like, uh-oh, I'm getting fired. Again, everything I said was totally warranted and professional, but firm. So I go into Joe's office, or I call Joe, and I was like, Joe, I need
Who's
you.
your leader?
Who's my leader and who's this person's leader's leader. So 2 up for this guy, but I'm Joe's support. So I have, you know, I'm on his speed dial. So I described the situation and I'm like, Joe, I need some counsel. 1, pause. The fact that I have that level of visibility to Joe, who's the general manager, the VP GM of this $300 million business, and he's taking my call about some employee conflict beef, that shows you what kind of leader Joe was that I didn't fully appreciate at the time, but he gave me that level of visibility. So I explained the situation to Joe, and Brooke, we decided we're not going to cuss on this podcast, but it's my favorite quote ever. I was like, Joe, so do you think I made the right decision? He's like, oh yeah, no, you get in his effing face. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like that was just one of those moments where, did I mess up? Like, should I have just taken it, the disrespect? And I didn't. I stood up for myself and I was brave and I was courage. Like I showed a lot of courage. And it's very difficult for me to stand up for me. It's easy for me to stand up for other people, difficult for me to stand up for myself. I go to my leader for validation, and not only does he validate, he doubles down and says, no, you get in his effing face. And I will never forget that experience in my entire career. And I think that just showed me that we had a great relationship. We built it. It was hard. I learned a lot, and he had to give me a lot of feedback and some really hard. But man, he had my back and I had his. And I just think that, y'all, is just like such a beautiful reflection and representation of what leadership can look like. Like at the end of the day, all of us are working for money. If we didn't get paid, most of us probably would not be doing that. But it's the intrinsic value of working together with people, leading with people, creating some of these stories. Don't y'all want some memories in your life when we're all done with this? Like, I just think that leadership is such a privilege. It's so special, and it has an unbelievable impact, not just on the careers of the people that you lead, but the lives of the people that you get to touch. And it absolutely bugs me if people do not take that accountability and that opportunity with nothing but everything they have to give. Don't slack. Don't be a lazy leader. Be someone that takes ownership on being the best darn leader that you can and really having an unbelievable impact on the lives of the people that you get to represent, because my goodness, it is an opportunity. After that, Brooke, I'm like, I'm fired up. Like, I'm ready to go.
You're pumped. You're pumped. The power of a great leader. I love the story. It's a great way to end. I hope it's inspired you too, fam. We love you guys. For now, that's the pod.